In a move as stupid as it is predictable, Donald Trump appears to have violated his gag order, ahead of his first criminal trial, set to begin this Monday in New York. He took the Two Social today, writing has marked, Palman has been prosecuted for his terrible acts, in and out of the DA's office, has disgraced attorney and felon, Michael Cohen been prosecuted for, lying, only Trump people get prosecuted by this judge, and these thugs a dark day for our country, MAGA 2024. Now to be clear, Michael Cohen will be a witness in the New York criminal trial, given the fact that Trump facilitated his illegal, hush money payouts to Stormy Daniels by way of Cohen, which landed Cohen himself in prison. And if you're wondering how Cohen could end up in prison for committing a crime on Trump's behalf, that would not also incriminate Donald Trump himself. And you're asking the right questions. The post is a clear violation of the gag order, which states that Trump is prohibited from, quote, making or directing others to make public statements about known or reasonably foreseeable witnesses concerning their potential participation in the investigation or the criminal proceedings. Clearly Cohen will be a witness in this trial, and clearly Trump's statement was public, and clearly the attacks against him are intended to intimidate him, and no one is more intimately familiar with Donald Trump's intimidation tactics that Michael Cohen, who himself worked for Trump as his own personal lawyer and fixer for years now. Cohen, for his part, took to Twitter after the violation, writing, "When does enough become enough?" And the petulant man-child gets time out in lockup for his bad behavior. And of course, the sad truth is that we're already long past the point where Trump's behavior should have resulted in lockup weeks ago. Trump had posted yet another video on the Two Social, which showed Fox host Brian Kilmeade disparaging the judge's daughter, which came after the gag order prohibiting exactly that was imposed on Trump, and to this point, nothing has come of that move, although that violation was less obvious than this violation today, given the fact that the references, the judge's daughter, were contained within a 5-minute clip of someone else talking, as opposed to today, when Trump himself attacked a witness, in a clear violation of the terms of the order. Still, my legal breakdown, co-host Glenn Kirshner, maintains that Trump did violate his gag order, then just as he is now. That's going to be up to Judge Marchand. Let's have a quick look at the New York rule and law that was cited by Judge Marchand when he expanded the gag order to include family members. Cutting right to the chase, if Donald Trump is found to be in contempt by violating the gag order, then he can be fined, not exceeding $1,000. Big Whoop writing can probably find that in the couch cushions up on a Trump Tower, if he rummages around long enough, or imprisonment for not exceeding 30 days. So in theory, if Donald Trump is found to have intentionally or knowingly violated this gag order, Judge Marchand could put him in a jail cell for as many as 30 days. And if Donald Trump continues to violate the gag order, there could be a series of 30 days stints in a jail cell. So I think Donald Trump is getting himself closer and closer and closer to an orange jumpsuit every day and every time he thumbs his nose at these gag orders. And look, I know that, despite what should happen to Trump, just about all of us were skeptical that he ever will face any punishment. I discussed that issue with Glenn as well, and here's what he had to say. So I'm gonna acknowledge the skeptics here, because I know people watching this are going to say, Glenn, nothing ever happens to this guy. What do you say to those people? A line being drawn in the sand here by Judge Mershon, extending this gag order. I would say I'm with you. I feel you, nothing ever happens to this guy. But that doesn't mean nothing ever will happen to this guy. Now how for how long, Brian, were we saying? Is Donald Trump ever going to be indicted anywhere for any of his crimes? It took a long time. It took too damn long in my estimation. He could have been charged the day he left office back in 2021. But he wasn't. We waited forever, and then we got indictment after indictment, after indictment, after indictment, 4 criminal indictments, both state and federal. So now what are we saying? Is Donald Trump ever going to be held accountable for violating gag orders? Well, remember, he was held accountable a couple of times by Judge Engoron in the civil fraud trial, and was made to pay monetary fines again. Perhaps not a big deal to Donald Trump, but what will be a big deal? If he is incarcerated, if he's jailed, as he can be under the New York state law and procedure. So here we are. We're going to sit, we're going to wait. We're gonna say, is anything going to happen? I think just like in the indictment arena, just like in the trial arena, because Donald Trump is now on the cusp of going to trial in his first criminal prosecution, scheduled to begin up in New York on April 15th, and Judge Marchand has reaffirmed that it's a solid trial date, and we can all expect the trial to begin on April 15th. So I do think criminal contempt is coming now, under the laws and the procedures of New York state law, if the contempt is committed in the judge's presence. In other words, if somebody does something that qualifies as contempt of court, the judge can summarily punish it on the spot, literally saying, I find you in contempt, and I'm ordering you jailed for X number of days. However, if the contempt is committed not in the presence of the court, then and I would say when you're posting stuff, which is obviously in violation of the expanded gag order, probably strictly speaking, not happening in the presence of the court, although in this day and age of social media, and the electronic ability to kind of put everything, everywhere instantly, which is not exactly how things were when these laws were enacted many years ago, I think there's an argument that when you post something it is in the presence of the court. We'll set that legal issue aside for the moment. Let's assume it's not in the presence of the court, under the New York statute. Then Donald Trump will have to be put on notice of the contempt charge, and will be given some opportunity to defend himself. There are these things called summary contempt trials, which are like little mini trials, where the evidence is introduced. Oh, here's the contempt. He posted something clearly violating the expanded gag order. Here's Donald Trump's defense. Maybe he wants to take the stand and say, oh, somebody else posted that on my social media account. I didn't do it. Yeah, go with that, Donald. See how well you do with that defense. But the reality is, there will be a process that will play out in court, and Judge Marchand will have to make a decision. Did Donald Trump knowingly willfully violate the gag order? So look in terms of whether we're likely to see any punishment for Trump in response to this latest violation of his gag order. That'll be decided by Judge Marchand. But regardless, Donald Trump will be heading to trial this Monday, as the first ever former U.S. president, facing criminal conviction. He's already pulled out every trick in the book to have this trial delayed, including a failed attempt to challenging this very gag order that we're discussing right now. But none of these desperate attempts at delay have proven successful. In fact, there is even the possibility that Trump's overtly violating his gag order, in an effort to get judgment to exercise his ability to jail Trump pending trial, so that he can litigate that to an appeals court. None of that would surprise me, in the least at this point, when Trump is so desperate to do anything to stop Monday's trial from moving forward. But what he's learning, pretty quickly, is that, while the wheels of justice turn slowly, they're still turning, and starting on Monday, Trump will have officially run out of rope, as he faces conviction in the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel, and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads. I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and that helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.